Hey everyone, Todd Michael Putnam here from Creative Adventure Tables, and I just want to do another quick video. This is almost basically a follow-up video. About a month or so ago, did a video on the OGL crisis snafu that was going on. That of course has been resolved. That's good. That's wonderful. I'm not going to go into that any further. Wizards of the Coast did what they did, and I applaud the fact that they put things into Creative Commons. So good for them. OGL 1.0A, I guess, remains in place. So congratulations on that. But what I had said in that video was that it was going to end up being basically a tectonic shift in the TTRPG community. That crisis was actually going to be good for the community, and the main reason it was going to be good for the community was because it was going to drive so many gamers to go try other systems. To say, you know what, I'm upset with Wizards of the Coast for whatever reason at this moment, and so I want to just go check. And so Pathfinder, sold out like crazy. Good for them. And a lot of people went to the local gaming store looking to try other games like Dungeon Crawl Classics or Basic Fantasy, and that's fantastic. That's what the industry needs, is to be able to go out and try different things. But what I figured it was going to do, and what it has done, is the same thing that what happened when Wizards of the Coast did version 4E, which spawned basically Pathfinder. They kind of closed everything up, and so Pathfinder went off and said, okay, we're going to make or Piazzo, I should say, went off and did their own thing and made Pathfinder. Well, this video is about sort of that thing happening again with a game called Shadowdark that just recently came on my radar, oddly enough, because I'd been searching around looking for various old school games for some time. I looked at Old School Essentials, Dungeon Crawl Classics, Labyrinth Lords, Basic Fantasy, a whole bunch of them, Knave and whatever, Five Torches Deep. I've looked at all kinds of ones, trying to look for some kind of a balance, because I personally, the OGL crisis or snafu aside, I've been kind of getting tired of the 5e power creep. Where once you get past 8th, 9th, 10th level, the characters end up getting so powerful that you're having to throw like multiple beholders at them or multiple dragons or whatever in order to be any kind of a challenge to them. And it just, for me, that's not fun. It's not tenable story wise to say, how come these things keep happening at this level? It's just not that exciting for me. So I kept looking for an old school type RPG that would fill that niche format, but I kept not finding it. And I did my best to mod 5e. I've got my own Creatures and Catacombs version 3 out there, which does a pretty good job. And we've been playing it for 3 years now with some upgrades here and there. And my players are having a blast with it. So that's all well and good. But still, I've been looking for that itch that gave me like the old basic advanced, not basic advanced, basic expert set, like Moldvay or whatever. That I had when I first started Dungeons and Dragons, back in like 1983 or 1984 or so. And nothing quite scratched the itch, even though there were some very faithful recreations. Obviously, Old School Essentials is great for that. Basic Fantasy is great for that. For whatever reason, it just didn't include enough new stuff in there that made me that hooked me. And when I saw Shadowdark, and I went through the listings of what it does, and then most importantly, I downloaded their for free quick start guide for both players and for the GMs and looked through it. I was like, this is amazing. This is so intuitive. It's so rules light, and yet it covers all the situations that you're going to spend your time looking at your players and looking at your adventure, as opposed to looking down behind the DM screen, flipping through books and trying to figure out how to actually run the adventure. You're actually just going to be running the adventure because the rules are so intuitive. And I was just incredibly impressed by that. So, and apparently a whole lot of other people are too. As I currently look at the backing right now, I've got it live up on my thing there. I think we're looking at almost $600,000 in like 4 days out of their 30-day Kickstarter. They're going to be clearing 600 grand on what was supposed to be a $10,000 Kickstarter in just 4 days, maybe 5 days, whatever it is. And if you do the math on the number of backers that are doing that, the average backer is backing it at close to $105, $106, something like that, which basically means most of them are at the Shadowdark RPG Complete pledge. And there's a reason I'm going through this real quick, and I'll circle back to it fast. So they want the Shadowdark RPG Core Rulebook print and PDF. They want the Game Master screen, print and PDF. They want the Cursed Zine Scrolls 1, 2, and 3, print and PDF, which includes extra classes in there, I believe. They want Mini Adventures 1, 2, and 3, print and PDF. They want 8 pre-constructed characters, print and PDF, and then they want all the physical and digital stretch goals, whether they be print, PDF, whatever the case may be. And I'm looking right now, it's showing 1,765 of their backers, which is like close to half, maybe more, of their backers. It's more than half of their backers is pledged at that level. That's excitement. That's enthusiasm. That's a desperate desire for a new gaming system. That's people that they're not just wanting to dip their toes in there, because they could do that for free with downloading the quick start guides. You could literally play levels 1 through 3 or 1 through 4 for free right now, downloading it. And having seen that, or having played that, or just looked at it and looked at the way the game is set up and the way that it's run, people are like excited to try at a much, much deeper level. And where Shadowdark is, I'm going to say, lucky, and there's a lot of skill involved with what they've done. Their execution and everything has just been amazing. I can't give Arcane Library high enough praise for the way that they've executed everything so far. But there's a certain amount of luck that happened here too for them. Again, taking nothing away from them, in that the OGL crisis happened. That created a drive that wasn't there 6 months ago. And they're able to launch their Kickstarter because they've been working on this. Kelsey, I believe, is the lead designer on this, and perhaps the only designer on it behind the Arcane Library, has been working on it for like 3 years. And so she's had all this time to refine her rules and work on them and play test them and see what really works and what will get people excited. And then she's able to strike when the iron is hot right away, where there's this really strong need for it. Whereas Cobalt Press, who is another company I have a tremendous amount of respect for, and MCDM with Matt Colville, another organization I have tremendous amount of respect for, they're really just getting started on theirs. And so they're putting out little play test things, and that's what they should do. Good for them. That's what they should be doing. But they're not going to be able to start a Kickstarter for like 6 months to a year before they're play testing. Whereas Kelsey's game, Shadowdark, is literally, it's set and ready to go. Her Kickstarter was done, I call it done right, in that everything is already completed. She's literally just waiting for the Kickstarter to complete. There is no editing to do. There's no page layout to do. There's nothing. It's literally just, this is how many orders we have. And then she goes to the printers that she has, I guess, multiple quotes from different ones, and says, okay, I need you to print this many. This is what we've got. Go start. And the digital version of the stuff is ready immediately. The day that the Kickstarter ends, or the day after, whatever it is, all the digital media is immediately available to go to the people who've subscribed to this, who've backed this Kickstarter. So it's really a Kickstarter that's been done right. And there's several things about it, and other people have gone through this, but if you haven't seen it, it very much has that old school vibe, but at the same time, it has a lot of great new mechanics garnered from different systems, from Index RPG, from Dungeon Crawl Classics, from 5e. It just kind of takes the best of all the different worlds and games that I've seen and looked at, and melds them synergistically together in such a simple, intuitive format that people can't wait to play. The first is the treasure grants XP, like it did back in the old school games, and tracking it is super simple. And then it's roll to cast spells. One of the things that I kind of don't really enjoy about 5th edition is spells are a one and done. It's like, I say I do this, I cast this spell, it automatically happens, and the worst that can happen is the creature makes a saving throw and only takes half damage. Somebody gets a disease, and I cast a cure disease spell, and the disease is gone. There's no drama there, because everything's a guaranteed. Because everything's a guaranteed, how can there be any real stress into what's going to happen? It's just a matter of whether or not you're going to expend the spell slot. And so everything comes down to resource management of that, but there's not really risk involved in a whole lot. Whereas roll to cast, which is like what you've got in Dungeon Crawl Classics, and what Kelsey's implemented here in Shadowdark, is you're going to roll a d20, and you have to roll 10 plus the level of the spell that you're casting it at. and beat that with your int modifier or your wisdom modifier, whichever applies. Otherwise, the spell doesn't go off. And if you roll a critical failure with a 1, then something really bad could happen. So magic is dangerous. Magic isn't guaranteed. Curing somebody's disease, they could lose that spell. And so they may we're early in this adventure. And what if I roll and I lose the spell and I can't cure disease for the rest of the session and other people end up getting it? So then now there becomes strategy involved, where before it's just like, well, I got to expend the spell slot one way or the other, so I'm just going to cast it. The roll to cast creates drama by the mechanic itself. She uses simple distances with close, near, and far. Monsters have morale again and reaction rolls like it used to be in basic, which I love so much. The always on initiative for time tracking is fantastic. The same stats that we've known, 6 stats in order, roll the 3d6 and away you go. But then she also added, if you don't roll any 14s, then you get to re-roll them all and start over. So in other words, you're rolling 3d6, but it's guaranteed you'll end up having a viable character, because if you don't roll something that's viable, there's a specific simple mechanic rule in there to re-roll so that you do have one. There's not all these different skills that you're checking against. It's all just ability checks, and they're either at advantage, disadvantage based on the background that you select. There's the lower hit points, which has been something that I've been working on in my own Creatures and Catacombs game, because the lower hit points is really where the stress is in the game. If you've still got 80 hit points to spare or whatever it is, then everything, there's no stress involved in it. There's no drama. It's just working your way through before you finally get to the part where things may or may not get scary. By keeping the hit points low, and by keeping the levels to 10 as opposed to 20, which is not where anybody plays anyways, really, unless they decide to play a 20th level game in D&D. By keeping up to level 10, there's something that you can shoot for, and there's a lot of drama that you probably won't get to 10th level, and that makes it feel like you've actually accomplished something. From the games that I've always run, it's always been trying to create a white knuckle experience. It's always measuring that fine line between, you don't want it to feel hopeless, but you don't want it to be in the walk in the park. You just want it to be a white knuckle fight. Some easy fights, sure, that makes them feel tough. That makes the players feel like, yeah, I'm a badass and I kick these guys. But then a few sessions later or a few encounters later, you give them something that's really tough, and you've got them. You see them, the fear that's on their face as they're rolling their dice, whether or not they're going to be able to make it, or if they're going to have enough hit points to eke this one out. And low hit points is what makes that happen more often and keeps the game engaging, because when a character or a player doesn't feel like their life is actually on the line, we got this, it's not a problem, they're less likely to be engaged in it. They're less likely to take the session seriously. It's when those hit points are low and then the resources are unstable, when casting a spell and torches going out and things like that. That's when they're more likely to pay attention, because that's where the drama in the game is. And all the mechanics to Shadowdark work synergistically to make that happen naturally. It's just and naturally and intuitively. They just roll that way. So that's why I think you're seeing such a high interest in this game, is again, the OGL debacle that happened, which created an interest to just go someplace else, and then the striking while the iron was hot for Arcane Library for Shadowdark, in that it's ready to rock and roll now. It's a complete system, and it has all these mechanics that people have been looking for a very long time. You're going to see a lot happening with this gaming system. Goodman Games, who I believe makes Dungeon Crawl Classics, they make their own game, and of course they make great 5e modules. I'm a huge fan of Goodman Games. I believe they've backed this game because they're looking at it and they're seeing the potential as well. And honestly, it's probably not that hard to modify their own DCC modules to work with Shadowdark. So it's just kind of a win for everybody. And when you start seeing these other publishers coming online and taking a look at it and saying, hey, there's some real potential here. You look at, there's still 25, 26 days left to go in the Kickstarter, and they're already at 600,000. $1 million is literally not out of reach. Now, maybe they won't get it. Maybe it'll slow down, and maybe they'll peter out at 750,000 or some ridiculously high number like that. That's of course possible, but it doesn't matter. They've already crushed their goal of 10,000 in order to get the game funded. Absolutely crushed it, literally 60-fold. is what they've done so far, and they have the vast majority of their funding period still left to go. So, and that level of attention is going to create videos like this, which already has from like Professor Dungeon Master and Questing Beast and guys that do this kind of stuff, what I'm doing right now, that do it professionally. I'm very ad hoc. You guys know what I do is all about creating the tables and stuff. But I think it's important to bring this game to people's attention because I really believe at the end of the day, there's going to be a third pillar. It's not just going to, but before, you know, when it was third edition, there was just Dungeons and Dragons, really. And then after fourth editions came out, it ended up being Dungeons and Dragons and Piazzo's Pathfinder. And I think with the OGL crisis that went on, it's going to be Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, and Shadowdark. I think Shadowdark is going to take the OSR community, and even though it's not an actual OSR game, it's an OSR-like game. It definitely has the elements, it has the feel, it has the look and the vibe, and many of the mechanic ideas, but it's modernized them, so it's more OSR-like. I think it's going to be so popular that people are going to go into a gaming store and they're going to be like, well, you know, are there any games? Are there any D&D games? Or are there any Dungeon Crawl Classic games? No, but we've got an OSR-like game. We've got Shadowdark, and there's lots of people playing that. And I think that's what's going to keep the ball rolling in that kind of a situation. And to be fair, the Arcane Library has to work out what pricing structures are going to be in order to work for local gaming stores. Right now, everything is geared towards a direct sale, basically. So I don't know if or when they're going to work out those kind of profit margins that they'll be able to sell to friendly local gaming stores and get them in there. I think it would be to their benefit to do so, but clearly they know their business way better than I do. So Kelsey, don't take any advice from me. You're doing a fantastic job. Keep doing what you're doing, and I'm sure you'll make the right decisions. But that's something to keep in mind, is to get the game in those stores, because the more hands-on experience people have with such an easy pick up and play game, even if you've never played a role-playing game before, the mechanics are so simple that I think people, once they try this, they're going to be hooked on it and they're going to want to keep playing it. So it's something to look at. I've created a separate Facebook group from my Creative Adventure Tables because I don't want to mix and match too much. Creative Adventure Tables, of course, all about the 3D terrain, and it doesn't matter what system you use, and I want to keep that way. But going forward, after I finish off my existing campaign with Creatures and Catacombs, with my own homebrew system, I'm planning on switching to Shadowdark because it's a better system. And I don't have any problems. I want to play whatever's the most fun for me and my players, and I really believe that's what Shadowdark's going to be. And I think a lot of people are going to be doing that. And so I just wanted to create an area, and I've already spoken with Kelsey via email, and she supports it. It's called, Unofficial Shadowdark RPG Fan. So without a doubt, this is not the official thing. This is not anything that Arcane Library is doing itself. Just want to make absolutely sure that I'm not stepping on any toes in any way, shape, or form. But I got her okay to call it that, and it's just getting started, so it's going to be all bare bones right now. And obviously all anybody has at this moment is a quick starter guide, but get in there if you're interested, and ask questions and give your opinions on things, and let me know what you think or why you're interested or what has drawn you to Shadowdark. And let's get that community going, because I think this is going to be the third pillar for TTRPGs within the next 3 years or so. I think it's going to grow that fast. There, it just becomes a staple, and I want to support that because I think it's worth supporting. So that's it for this one. Thank you so much for listening. Tomorrow I'm going to be running my regular CNC session, and when it's all finished, it'll be Lord willing that there aren't any technical issues. We'll have that up on the YouTube channel so that everybody can take a look at it and watch it. I got a lot of positive responses from the last session where the Tarrasque literally ran through and crushed the city with my level 1 characters, trying to get people out alive. That was a lot of fun and a lot of positive feedback. So the next one will be coming up tomorrow. It might be a couple days before I get the video up for that. But thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you want more information and videos like this. And if you have an opportunity, please go check out the Unofficial Shadowdark RPG Fans Facebook group. And I look forward to seeing you there. Take care. Have a great day.